Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Shut Up or Talk Up Wellness Lifestyle brand. We are continuing our health talk conversations. Today, we have the honor of speaking to Sarah, the founder of SAE Pilates and Fitness. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Marley. Thank you.
Yes, it's definitely an honor. And just want to let everyone know that Sarah's in the UK and we're in the US, so we're making this happen so we can share this great information to you guys. And Sarah, can you tell us about SAE Pilates and Fitness?
Yes, so that SAE Pilates and Fitness is my business. So I run a health and wellness business online and face-to-face for women of all ages. And I have a real keen interest in hormonal health. So cycle syncing, pre-postnatal, perimenopause, menopause, and just how our cycles really affect us. So mentally, physically, emotionally, that we need to take it into account and kind of work to being really wholesome through that.
Wow, that's awesome. And so do you do any like routines? What type of fitness routines do you do a part of your program?
So I teach Pilates, I teach personal training. I developed a program, Pulse Pilates, so I kind of incorporate cardio, Pilates, mobility, stretching. So it's an all-encompassing program. I've recently trained as a pelvic floor coach, so really helping women who are having pelvic floor issues. And believe it or not, a lot of women have pelvic floor issues, regardless of age, whether they've had children or not. It is quite a huge thing. So that's been really rewarding to help ladies through that.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So I'm interested. What is a pelvic floor issue? Can you tell us more about that?
So our pelvic floor is obviously we have our pelvis, and then the pelvic floor is the muscles in the pelvis. So they kind of come up like that. If you kind of think of a drawstring bag, they would pull up like a drawstring bag, essentially. And the pelvic floor is affected by so many things, even our emotions and tension. So you will find that quite a tense, anxious person who carries a lot of stress in their body will have a tight, tense pelvic floor. So you can have either a tense pelvic floor or a weak pelvic floor, but often the symptoms are quite similar, which will involve leakage. So incontinence, it could be stress incontinence, which is when we jump, when we laugh, when we cough, when we sneeze. Or it could just be urge incontinence, where you feel like you just need to go to the bathroom all the time, regardless of how long it was since you last went. You can have pain in the pelvis, pain on intimacy. So it just works through those, figuring out whether you are a person with a weak or with a tight pelvic floor, and essentially learning to lengthen and strengthen the muscles equally.
Wow. Oh, wow, that is amazing. I never heard of it that, and I never knew anything of that. I mean, I know about the pelvic, and it's just so amazing how, this flesh that we have been given, right? To, this gift that we've been given and how intricate it is and how, there's so many pieces to it, because I've been speaking to so many contributors to health and wellness, and I am just learning new things every day. That's why we're excited to get this out to our supporters, just educating them so that they can reach out and talk to, individuals like yourself.
Yeah.
You mentioned hormonal health. Can you tap into that and explain more? What is hormonal health?
So as women, obviously, we have a monthly cycle. And it's just so normal, but yet so not talked about enough, and how our cycle really affects us. So it affects our energy levels, our mood, it affects how hungry we are, it affects our sleep. If you're when you're certain types of times of the month, you might find that your sleep is not so good. So when we take into account how we are and where we are in our cycle, it can make a huge difference that if we just factor that into our thought process, we factor it into our fitness, into our workouts, you know, that we can really improve that hormonal health. We can really improve how our cycle is. And that can kind of build month on month till you really just start to flourish hormonally, because we can flourish hormonally. You know, we can make that difference in our own lives. We don't necessarily need medical intervention. We can just start ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
that's something that we, you know, we can do as women. I mean, I think even just how the world look at periods,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, oh, she has her period, or like it's, I don't know. Let me think about when I first got my period. So my mom and I grew up in the house with my mom and my dad. I have 5 sisters, 1 brother. We all grew up together, and my mom did give me. She's older than I am, obviously, from a different generation. But she, you know, gave me the conversation about, you know, my period, and just that experience, and just having to go through it and experience it through school, and boys not understanding it, and you know catching my period at school, or just the embarrassment and the shame that as women, and I can speak for myself, that I've experienced as a young girl. You know, now that I'm an older woman, it's like, yes, I have a period, and you know, there's no you know, but it's such a journey and a process of understanding what the body is doing. Just to get some perspective, do you think that men understand the purpose of the period, like majority? Not, I'm not going to say all men, because one thing I don't like to do, I do not like to speak for all people. I do not like to take one group of people and say everybody. So that's one thing I don't do. But do you think that as a society, are men getting more educated on what periods are, understanding the female body, understanding that, you know, I may not always look like I'm in pain, but I work through pain sometimes.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Now that's a question, you see, because I think it's not even just men. I
Mm.
think a lot of women don't even understand their own bodies and their hormonal
Just
system.
taught me about pelvic floor, and so I think you're right.
So that step number one, I think, is always to become body literate, to become literate of your own body, to really understand everybody's different. So we understand our own bodies. We start to track, you start to look, you start to think, how do I feel today? What are my energy levels like today? You know, oh, my mood's a bit off. You know, I'm just going to note that mentally, or maybe keep a journal and become really body literate in that. And just knowing makes a huge difference. You know, just understanding makes a huge difference, because you're like, okay, I feel like this today because I'm on so and so day of my cycle, and that's fine. I'll pass through it and I'll feel better. I'll feel different. So then coming on to men, then the men do need to be educated, because I'm sure most men have women in their lives, whether it's mothers, sisters, daughters, wives, girlfriend, aunties, cousins. And if you can understand that a woman feels different most days of the month, that she's not linear, that she changes, how she feels changes mentally, physically, emotionally, and that she has to learn to kind of be able to deal with herself. And then you, as the man in her life, whoever it is, learns the adjustment, you know, and doesn't take things then personally. Because it's really easy to take it personally if your person in your life, their mood is off or anything like that, you know. So it all comes down to education, right? Education of our own bodies, education of how we can help to improve our own bodies and our own physical, mental, emotional health, which we all have so much power within us to do that. We do. We just have to be proactive. That's one of the biggest things I have for my clients, the ladies like to support, is we must just be proactive, because you have to help yourself essentially first and foremost.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's essentially with the Shut Up or Talk Up wellness lifestyle brand, the title Shut Up or Talk Up, it's really it's a call to action, right? It's essentially saying you're either gonna do something or you're not, right? You know, and it's to encourage people to have uncomfortable conversations around mental health, emotional health, and physical health. Oftentimes we're familiar with certain things and we think if we just don't talk about it, you know, oh, don't talk about it. You know,
Yeah,
traditionally we may be taught not to talk about it.
that's right.
Culturally, we may be taught not to talk about it. Even on a human level, we may be taught not to talk about it, and or we may feel that, well, if everyone else isn't talking about it, or you know, well, my mom was able to not, she was able to live her life and not talk about it. You know, maybe I am overreacting. Maybe this pain I'm feeling is not a big deal, or maybe, you know, and I think that is a dangerous thing to do. I really do think it's so dangerous. And going back to what you said, education, right? Um, and it takes courage to really want to understand the physical, right? Understand our temple, understand our mental,
Yeah,
and understand that mental health, emotional health, and physical health, it's a package, right?
that's
And
right.
you really have to want to be able to identify what's going on rather
Yeah.
than masking it, avoiding it, and just because culturally we don't see, it's not a trend to do it culturally, that doesn't mean you can't step out and want to educate yourself and the people around
That's exactly right. You know, I come from the Southeast Asian culture. So many of these issues are just not talked about traditionally, definitely not periods or perimenopause or just anything like that. It's very, very taboo. But we can be part of the change, you know. We all have to just do our little bit.
you.
That's it. So
Yes,
I feel like I'm doing my little bit in my corner of the internet. I'm trying to just raise awareness, talk
yes,
openly, say, don't be embarrassed, it's fine. You know, we can discuss periods, we can discuss pelvic pain, or we can discuss leaking, and it's fine because essentially it's just like if you were discussing, like, oh, my little finger hurts, you know, that wouldn't be seen as anything odd. So it's not, it's just another body part,
yes,
really, but one's body parts that actually have a huge impact on how we feel as a person. So
yes,
we can tap into how can we improve that? How can we help people around us improve their bodies, improve their thought processes, give young girls the empowerment, the education, so that they understand their own bodies from a young age. You know, sometimes I feel a bit gutted that I only really started to learn this stuff in my 40s. I think I'm 45 now, and I really
you
started
look
to focus.
amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
You do.
Thank you. I really only started to educate myself just because I was having issues in my own body. So I just, I'm very proactive. I just go, and if I get something between my teeth, I will just keep going.
Right.
So I've educated myself, books, podcasts, every which way to improve how I feel. But I do feel disappointed that I only start and realize that in my 40s, because I think, oh gosh, in my 20s I was struggling so much
Right,
with
right.
different things, and I just plowed on through thinking it was okay and normal maybe to feel rubbish all the time.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
was a young and that kind of thing. So
yeah.
I feel disappointed in that. So if I can help other young people all the way up to age perimenopause, menopause, just help one or two people, even, that's enough for me. I feel I've done my bit then.
I want to take the time to give you your flowers and your roses because I, you know, and obviously something that I'm going to tell you, you obviously have to pick yourself up and not say, well, I'm 40, you know, or I can't do it now. You know, obviously these are thoughts, right? That we all have, our age, where we're at. what we know, our education level, all these things that can deter us from moving forward. But when we came across your platform on Instagram and to see how flexible you are, how knowledgeable you are, how you are, you know, you are sharing and you're educating so many women, you know, that may have shared a similar experience as you. And you didn't let your age discourage you. You didn't let the time or culture, you, as you said, you went in and you educated yourself. And now a part of your life journey is to share that with those who are possibly younger. And I think that is so amazing, Sarah. I think that is such an amazing thing. You should be so proud of yourself.
Thank you.
You
I'm
know,
humble.
yeah, you should be so proud of yourself, really. And I wanted to kind of get into another topic when it comes to like hormones. And I think you mentioned something about birthing. Is it birthing or not birthing? I guess the
Cycle,
process, huh?
was it cycle syncing? I'm not
I
sure.
was thinking menopause. Did you mention menopause?
Yes.
Okay.
Perimenopause and menopause, yeah.
What is perimenopause?
So perimenopause is from about the age of 35 to when we will go through our menopause, which is the average age. The average age in the UK is about 51 for a lady to go through her menopause. So from about 35 upwards, our hormones start to fluctuate, sometimes drop, sometimes go up, and we'll start to notice various symptoms. Could be physical, emotional, mental, cognitive, feet pain, hot flushes. Honestly, there's something like close to 40 different symptoms that have been categorized that you can have for perimenopause, but they can creep in quite in such small ways that you might not notice, that you might just think, oh, I just feel rubbish, I feel tired, oh, my joints hurt, oh, my feet hurt, and go to the doctor for various symptoms. But essentially, you know, it's probably likely that you're going through perimenopause. And that term has only been sort of coined in the last few years because we only ever really discussed menopause. But this build up from about 35 upwards, you're going to go through a variety of things. If you're really, really blessed, you might not feel anything, but that doesn't happen to many ladies, unfortunately. And yeah, just the same thing, being proactive, being body literate, realizing that I feel something, I feel different, something's not quite right. And this is where kind of being body literate pre that age, in your teens, 20s, 30s, if you know your own body, if you understand where you are, when you start to go through those changes, you're going to see them, you're going to notice them, you're going to be very aware that, oh, I'm here now. This is where I'm going. What can I do? I need to maybe improve my nutrition. I mean, maybe I need to move more. Maybe I need to adjust my workouts. Maybe I need to do more strength training rather than so much cardio, because we need to really build our muscles. More mobility, more stretching. You know, a huge factor is I need to stress manage better. Stress management is a huge thing. If you can manage your stress levels, you're going to help your sleep. You're going to help the symptoms that may come from perimenopause. So I think all this comes under the kind of holistic sort of health and wellness, you know, to just be in charge, be your kind of person, take control of your own health and wellness. You know, essentially, my dad used to say this saying, he's passed now, may God grant him, you know, a good space in the highest abode, but he always had this saying, health is wealth. And that really, really started to resonate with me over the last year or so, because I realized, yes, it is. Health is wealth. And just like we invest in our wealth, you know, we will think about investments or how we need to look after our money. We need to look after our health in the same way. So we need to invest our time, our energy, maybe even our money into our health so that we can be abundant in our health. You know, we want to be abundant in our health. That's what I want for all the women of the world, especially because we're always number two.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
To be abundant in our health.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I definitely agree with that. With you know, and even with being abundant, it really is a three-part process: mental health, emotional health, and physical health. You know, you have to challenge yourself to have these uncomfortable conversations,
Yeah.
right? You really have to challenge yourself to um, have the conversation that you've been running from, right? You
Yeah.
know, creating a support system, right? And then one of the reasons why we reached out to you as well, because we see on your page, you know, you are a support system to a lot of, you know, people. Just looking at the page and seeing how you're updating, you're motivating them, you know, and you're giving tips. Ladies, you know, I encourage you to find a support system, you know, even, you know, check out Sarah's page as well. You know, we're gonna wrap up shortly, but there's two things that I wanted to kind of, two topics that I wanted to touch base on. Um, your perspective about birth control and how does that affect like the hormones and being that that's something that you focus on.
Yeah, so I mean, there was a point in my life I took birth control, but to be honest, and I haven't for a very, very long time, because essentially birth control shuts off your hormonal system. So you're not producing natural hormones, you're not doing what your body is meant to do. Every month we're meant to ovulate, we're meant to then go through the month and have a period, and that ovulation in the middle of the month is so important. Us producing those hormones is so important for us later on in life. If we go through our life and we haven't taken birth control, say for example, we have been creating hormones throughout the month for all those months, 12 months a year, and that will essentially be like building blocks for us, so that when we reach the age of menopause, sort of in our 50s, we've got all the good muscle mass, the good bone mass, you know, we've given our body everything it needs. But when we do take birth control, we do shut off that system essentially. So we're not ovulating, we're not producing the hormones, which a lot of women just don't realize, unfortunately. They think that because they're taking, but they just don't, you know, we're busy, we have so much going on in our
So
life,
much. It's
so
yeah,
full. So we just, you know, nothing negative, but we just don't think any further. We just take the birth control because that's what we need, and we don't actually realize that,
right.
right, this is happening to me. You know, this is what I'm doing essentially. And then potentially in my 50s, the fact that I took birth control for a number of years is going to have a negative impact on my health when I am older. So personally, I don't take it. Obviously, everybody is, you know, open to their own opinion and personal circumstances. But if you can avoid it, I would say avoid it. You know, there's lots of other methods of contraception we can use
Yes,
that
and
don't.
hopefully they can get birth control for men. I wonder how that's gonna work. You guys don't
Well,
have to be responsible.
exactly. And I mean, you know, come on, it's 2022. We've gone to other, you know, we've gone to
Yeah.
Mars, but we can't make a male birth control. That something's a bit fishy there.
Right, yeah. I mean, and so even with birth control, I have never taken birth control. And I know that that was one of the conversations that I had with my mom when I was younger, and she was, you know, when we talked about sex, and you know, I was one of those that was afraid of that whole thing. But I just always feel like I was always afraid of birth control because I hear what it does and the moods and all these things, and you know, I encourage women and men and women to, you know, protect yourself in the best way that you can. You know, I know this is the, you know, we're not talking about this, but wear condoms,
Yeah,
and have open conversations with your partner. Have uncomfortable, going back to, you know, you have to take the courage to have these uncomfortable conversations with
right.
your partners. And whether, you know, when you're getting married beforehand, you know, if you are a virgin, you know, find a support system, find other women to talk to get insight about the body, and even that experience as well. This way, you know, I know married women that also sometimes say that they would want to wear a condom as well. And I know that that is not something that is talked about, and this is not what we're talking about now, but I just want to let people know that whatever routine works for your marriage specifically, right?
Yeah,
Um, Don't worry about what other people are doing, even for men. So what if they're not, no one should be inside of what you and your wife is doing and your husband's doing. So if you guys
That's right. Yeah,
decide to wear condoms because let's say the man is not taking birth control, the woman, she does no longer want to take birth control. And if that is a method, sometimes we say, oh, I just don't like how I feel, or oh, this and that. You have to make um decisions that's going to benefit each
that's right.
individual and the
Yeah,
team.
team. Yeah,
And that's an uncomfortable topic, but it's just something that I would like to plant and just to share with women and men as well.
yeah,
That
definitely.
we can break the old ideas of how to do things, right? Especially if the women is the only person that has to take birth control, have to take it, it's a lot. And this is not we don't bash men here, but as we're progressing, it's nice to be able to evenly share the load or to
Definitely.
be open to other
Yeah, yeah,
avenues.
yeah, definitely. And I like you said, it's in your little team, it's in your family, it's in your relationship, explore different offerings, talk openly about what it could be, not just make it a natural assumption that in a relationship that the woman's going to cover the birth control and that's it.
Yes.
That doesn't know, it doesn't know, we're evolving, we're changing, we're growing in every way in society. So we should in those aspects as well, because like I said, it always seems like women are number two in anything medically kind of based. We're always like, I don't know if now, but right now in the UK we've got a huge shortage of hormone replacement therapy for women, and women are struggling and they can't get hold of it, and it's going to cause them such. And I just think, would that have happened if it'd been a male, a medication that a man was taking? Not quite sure, really. I just,
No, that is a valid point. Yeah, I'm not quite sure either.
not quite sure. Yeah, bit suspect there, bit suspect, but
Yeah.
yeah. So definitely open conversations, education, dialogue,
Mhm.
no taboo subjects. We just
Yeah.
talk about it like you're talking about going to the dentist.
Yes.
Simple.
Yes. And so as we wrap up, I just want to talk about foods real quick. Are there
Okay.
any types of food, water, what tips that you can share to improve health in general?
I would say go for whole natural food. So you want to be lots of fruits, vegetables, pulses, protein for women. Protein's really, really important. So, especially as we age, we really need to have a lot of protein in our day. Start your day with a good protein source. And don't be afraid of food. We don't need to limit ourselves so much. So just really like get in touch with yourself and your eating, and really enjoy it. Choose good foods that are going to nourish you and enjoy them. Water is fantastic. Water is like
Can't
life.
get enough of it.
Water is like life.
Yes.
Drink lots of water. um yeah, fill your plate with just good stuff. And when I mean greens, I mean vegetables, I mean your 5 a day, all the stuff that is just going to nourish you, fill you with nutrients, minerals, vitamins. We need to feed ourselves from the inside out. We need to
Yes.
nourish ourselves. We need to
Yes.
stay away from processed foods if you can. Have a large treat here and there. Don't deprive yourself, don't make it a thing. But
Right.
if what I always give one tip to people,
Balance.
think of adding in. Okay, so always think of adding, not taking away. So if you add in your proteins, your greens, your vegetables, your fruits, your water, you're going to just put so much good stuff into your day, into your diet. You're not really going to have the appetite for the rubbish. So then you won't need to think about taking it out, because you'll just be already
Adding.
eating the good stuff. So always think
Hmm.
about adding rather than taking away.
Hmm.
And that makes a difference.
Yes, that's like seeing the glass half full versus half empty.
That's
Ladies
right.
and gentlemen, Sarah, I want to thank you so much. We're gonna wrap up now. I just want to, I know you mentioned earlier in the video, but before we go, can you tell people how to, your website, your Instagram page, and how they can find you and possible programs, or, you know,
Yeah,
what you have
sure.
going on?
So my website is SAE Pilates and Fitness.com. I am on all social media platforms with the same handle, SAE Pilates and Fitness. You know, give me a follow. We love followers. You know, it makes a difference. And go ahead, check out my content, and all my programs, all my courses, how you can book with me is on my website. Prices, details, everything. And you will find out about my membership site on there too.
Yes, so I want to thank you so much for joining. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Shut Up or Talk Up wellness lifestyle brand where we connect wellness, and we are, you know, excited about our health talk. Thank you guys for tuning in. Take care.
Thank you.